Hey everyone, welcome back to Engelbard Gaming, and welcome to another installment of the Shining Force Retrospective. You might think that I forgot about this video series, but if you think that,
well, you're wrong!
Today I finally cap off the Shining Force 3 experience for the Sega Saturn with the Shining Force 3 Premium Disc. This will be a quick video since there's no story to cover or anything like that, so sit back, relax, and check out one of the coolest little bonus discs / content that a game ever got. Let's get on with it. First, let's talk about exactly what this is, because a lot of you have probably never even heard of it. So in Japan, Sega released all 3 scenarios of Shining Force 3, while in the US we only officially got the first scenario, and it was simply titled Shining Force 3. In Japan, however, players who bought all 3 scenarios of Shining Force 3 were also provided a special offer. They could send in little coupons that were included in each of the 3 scenarios to receive a copy of a special bonus, the Shining Force 3 Premium Disc, which is what we're covering right now. If you haven't already checked out my other episodes in the Shining Force Retrospective series, they're all linked in the description and have their own playlist on the channel. And like with Scenarios 2 and 3, the Shining Force 3 Translation Project team also translated the Premium Disc into English about 2 decades ago as I record this. So what is on this 1998 bonus disc? Well, quite a lot actually. The software starts with a quick little commercial for Shining Force 3. The video quality isn't great, and well, that's going to be true of all the video on the disc. First, when the game starts, or the software starts I should say, you're greeted with 6 categories: a 3D character model viewer, character illustrations, a section called Battles that we'll talk about last, a records section which can build saves for Scenario 3, a video viewer, and a sound test. For the 3D model viewer, well, it's pretty self-explanatory. You get to check out a bunch of 3D models used for the characters and enemies present in all 3 scenarios of Shining Force 3. You can also make them perform various actions to see much of their animation, and you can do normal things like zoom in, zoom out, and rotate the models. It's fun to mess around with, especially if you want to get a look at some of the models that you may have only seen very briefly in the games themselves. Next up are the 2D character designs, which are under images. Many include pencil sketches, and there are a few early prototype designs to check out in this section too. It's a nice little bonus for fans, but I don't imagine too many people will be entertained by this section for more than a few minutes. Battles is next, but like I said, we're saving that for last, so let's jump to Records. When you enter the option for Records, you go back to the room with Gabriel and Faye. In this section, you can create a save game to start Shining Force 3 Scenario 3. Now, why would you want to do that? You already had all 3 scenarios to get this disc, right? Now let me explain. If you haven't been following along with my retrospectives here, you might not realize that in Shining Force 3 Scenarios 1 and 2, they each have multiple points where you can do things or take actions or miss things that have an impact on Scenarios 2 and 3. It might be that you missed freeing a character in Scenario 1, so they weren't available in Scenario 2 or 3. With the save creator here, you can enter Scenario 3 by setting the variables that you want to have in place at the start of it. This saves you from having to replay Scenarios 1 and 2 to do all the stuff that you missed, and hope that you don't forget and miss again during those scenarios. It's a neat little bonus, and I think many people would have been happy if this was the only thing on the disc. Next up we have the videos section, and it contains a few interesting things. There are videos from the games, there are TV commercials, and there's even an interview with Hiroyuki Takahashi. Unfortunately, the interview is not translated on this disc, however there is a text translation of the interview available as a forum post on Shining Force Central, and you can check it out at this address, which I've also linked in the description for your convenience. Now, it's nothing earth-shattering, so don't go in thinking there's going to be any huge secrets revealed or anything like that, but still, it's nice to know what was discussed, right? And lastly, we have the sounds section. This contains a sound test that includes the music, sound effects, jingles, and voices from all 3 scenarios. It's a massive collection, and is something else that, especially back in the days when MP3s of game music weren't all over the internet yet, would have been really handy to have if you wanted to listen to the music. The Holy Land of Elbasem is track 44, by the way, since I'm sure you all want to hear the best song in the game first, right? Seriously, the sound test uses the CD-like interface, which is a smidge cumbersome, but not too bad. It's another thing that many people would have probably been okay with if there was nothing else on the disc, and that's 2 of those so far. Not bad. Alrighty, so that brings this episode to a close. Oh, I didn't talk about that battle section yet, did I? Well, let's do that now. The Shining Force 3 Premium Disc contains a slew of brand new battles, and you can choose any Force members you want for them. But you can't switch team members between battles, and you're still limited to 12 for this fight. There's no story here. There are no towns, no shops, none of that stuff. You just have your characters and their end state from when you completed Scenario 3, including whatever weapons and items they had on them. And I hope you level them up sufficiently at the end of Scenario 3, because the battles on this disc ain't easy for low-level characters. But if you are strong enough, well, most of them are kind of a cakewalk as long as you don't mind damage sponge enemies. And let's briefly go through them all. This section is a lot like the bonus dungeons at the end of each of the 3 scenarios. The layouts here are even simpler than those, however. You're basically just here to bash enemies. There are 9 rooms and they each feature very little variation. However, you can expect about 3 to 4 hours of gameplay from here if you make it through the battles without ever losing a fight and having to start over. What's pretty cool about these battles is you'll see bosses from Shining Forces past, for the first time in polygonal 3D at that. Now, regarding who to take here if you want a little advice, here's what I'd suggest. You definitely want all 3 heroes. Without them, the fights at the end will take much longer. I would say you'd want at least 2 or 3 healers, and at least 2 of them should have Aura level 4, which provides full healing for the whole party from anywhere on the map for 18 magic points. I'd also equip them with MP regenerating weapons or accessories if you can. I'd definitely suggest 2 flyers, maybe 3, and then you want to make sure you have at least 2 good distance attackers, whether they're archers, axe throwers, or whatever. Having a wizard or 2 might not be bad, but their MP won't last, especially in the last few fights. Oh, and you do heal MP and HP between each battle, so at least you don't have to worry about that. Fight number 1 is with a Kraken, and it's way easier than I expected it to be the first time I played this. It's here to serve as something, that'll help weaker characters level up in case you're a little far behind, and you might need to repeat it a few times. All of my characters were promoted to the 3rd class and were between levels 10 and 25 at the start here, with the majority of them being at least level 18, and I had several over level 20. Now the second fight, which we'll breeze through here, is a little bit tougher. You have to fight the 3 Yashas as bosses. It's still not too bad, but this one will challenge you if you're not quite up to the task, especially with area of effect attacks that can, harm a bunch of your team at once. The third fight is with all 6 Rainbloods. It's on a pretty square map, so it's just you and them going straight at it. I actually thought this fight was easier than the second one. And this one is pretty much just a battle royale free-for-all. You just rush in and start bashing away, and you want to concentrate on 1 or 2 of the enemies at a time. The fourth fight is with the 4 Bullzome High Priests, Fiale, Basanda, Goriate, and Desharon. I want to stress again that there's no story or dialogue or anything here. Now this fight could be a little bit tougher. All 4 priests have magic attacks, and all of them except Goriate have summon magics, meaning for this fight, you want to be sure to group, sort of cluster your characters near each other to spread out the summon magic damage so nobody gets killed in one shot or anything like that. I suggest trying to split your force in 2 and get the enemies to stay apart in groups of 2 each. And if you can't make them do that, if one of them goes after you, in one of your other groups, don't worry, you can still win this one. Just focus on taking one out at a time. Fight 5 is with the mighty Bullzome. Bullzome has a lot of hit points and is the first real damage sponge enemy here. The main thing with this fight, and every fight going forward from this point, is that they are all basically endurance matches. Anyway, take out the Dark Priests guarding Bullzome and then go to town trying to spread your force out so that area of effect attacks don't liquefy your party. This is where the flyers really start to come in handy. You want to position the flyers on opposite sides of Bullzome and the rest of the bosses from this point forward, because sometimes you can get them to waste turns attacking one of the flyers alone, giving us a much needed breather, which allows us to extend the time between having to cast aura spells. Just pound away at Bullzome, and eventually he'll go down. And then next up we have, hey, look at that, it's Dark Dragon. Dark Dragon was the final boss of the original Shining Force on the Genesis/Mega Drive. Here you've got 3 instances of him to take down, and you'll have to be careful about keeping some characters out of range while taking out the various heads here. The enemy HP starts getting really crazy from here on out, so this is going to take a while. By now you should be pretty well versed on strategy, so I'm not going to waste any time breaking things down in detail. Just employ those good Shining Force fundamentals, and you'll be fine. It'll just take a while. After subduing Dark Dragon, we tackle Eom from Shining Force Gaiden 2, aka Shining Force The Sword of Hajia on the Game Gear. This was also Book 2 on Sega CD's Shining Force CD, which was a remake of that game, and he was obviously the boss there as well. So this is another boss fight that takes a ridiculously long time, but it's not really all that difficult. Stick with it and you will win. Our penultimate boss is Zeon. Zeon was the final boss of Shining Force 2 on the Genesis/Mega Drive. He's a lot tougher than the prior bosses up to this point and has an insane amount of hit points. Expect to be doing this fight for a good long while. You'll want to move some characters to safety when you need to, and make use of those aura spells in a timely manner. Do that and you'll be fine. Again, this is going to take a while, and you want to make sure that nobody dies because the last fight after this one is going to be really tough and even longer. Speaking of which, here is our final boss of the battle area on the premium disc, and it is Dark Soul. Dark Soul, also from Shining Force 1, is the toughest boss out of all the battles, as you'd expect since he's last here. It took my very powerful team about 45 minutes to take this jerk down. You'll need to make use of items like fairy powder or healers who can use antidote to cure negative effects, since Dark Soul has an area of effect confuse spell. He also essentially has unlimited MP, since he regenerates 10 MP on every turn as well as 30 HP, and goes 2 or 3 times for every time you do. He also has all the usual boss caliber attacks, along with dangerous attack magic like Bolt level 4. And get settled in, this is going to be a long haul. Spread your characters out, keep aura users tucked safely away at the bottom or sides of the map, and only have them use aura when it's necessary. However, having said that, don't take chances. You might regret it if you wait too long and party members end up getting killed. Stick with this, make sure nobody dies, and it's not going to be hard, it's just going to take frickin' forever. And then look at that, we have our own silly little ending credits after we complete the battle section. Enjoy watching character sprites get thrown around all over the place with exuberance as you watch the final bit of Shining Force 3 that was ever created. So there we go, folks. That is the Shining Force 3 Premium Disc, a neat little bonus that contains about another 4 hours of gameplay, along with all those other bonuses I talked about. I didn't come by this Premium Disc until after the translation was released, and I don't think I even knew it existed until maybe a few years after it came out. It was definitely a nice little thank you to Shining Force 3 fans who loved that game and played through all 3 scenarios. And sadly, everybody, there's only one game left in the main strategy series of Shining Force games, and that's Shining Force Resurrection of Dark Dragon for the Game Boy Advance, which is a remake of the original Shining Force game for the Genesis/Mega Drive, but it adds a fair amount of new stuff as well. I know I've said this before, but I'm going to cover this before the end of the year. I promise. I said this series would be done this year, and it will be. If it's not next week's video, it'll still be out before the new year unless something absolutely crazy happens. And while there's been a lot of crazy happening in my life, my fingers are crossed. I think we can make it a week without something going insane. Alrighty, your turn now. Have you seen the Shining Force 3 Premium Disc before? Did you own the Premium Disc back when it was new? What did you think of it? Tell me all about it in the comments. That'll do it for this video, my retro gaming friends. If you enjoyed it, please like it and share it online somewhere. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you won't miss any of my videos. You can support the work I do here on Patreon and Ko-fi, as well as right here on YouTube through things like Super Thanks and channel memberships. With that, I'll say thanks for watching, and see me later.